As the thumbnail suggests, I'm going to be talking about samples, specifically samples that I took with me on my vacation very recently, and also perfumes that I want to sample in 2025. Usually I kind of have a routine at the beginning of each new year, making a video about wishlist samples, perfumes or perfume brands that I want to try out in the new year. And what I'll do first is briefly talk about what I took with me on my vacation. I traveled somewhere in Australia's tropics. I was on an island for a few days. So it was warm and humid, but I didn't pay much attention to the environment when I was choosing what to bring with me. And in the end, I didn't really choose anything. I had a big plastic bag full of a bunch of samples that I had not tested really before. I might have sprayed some on a couple of times just to see what they smelled like. And what I thought I would do, just to be, I guess, more spontaneous and more random about what I'm wearing this year, each day I would dip my hand in the bag, pull a particular sample out, and regardless of what it was, I would spray it on. That would be my scent of the day. So I'm not going to talk about every sample that I did try while I was there, but I'll talk about some of the ones that kind of stuck in my memory. I've been back for a few days now, and I'll talk about a few that I quite enjoyed, and actually two that I wore that are now on my full bottle wish list. So I'm going to start off with one from the house of Sana Jardin. This one is called Nubian Musk. Now, as the name would suggest, it's a musky perfume. And if I were to describe the type of musk in this perfume, definitely reminiscent of what you might experience in something like Kiehl's Original Musk, which I own and love. But Nubian Musk was a very nice musk, but what I immediately thought about when I was wearing it was the fact that it was lacking some of the extra thrill that I get from Original Musk. There's not so much of the lovely florals that complement the musk in the Kiehl's. Nubian Musk is a pretty much straight ahead musky perfume, and that in of itself is not a bad thing. It's just a little bit unexciting for me. So that was Nubian Musk. The other one that I also enjoyed more than Nubian Musk was from Laboratorio Olfattivo. This one was Vanagloria. Now, it's a vanilla-based perfume. I found it to be quite nice, spicy, dusty, dry vanilla, not overly sweet. And I was told or read on social media that there are similarities between Vanagloria and Baby Cat from YSL. Now, I smelled Baby Cat a long time ago, probably when it was first available here in stores. And I don't remember being overly impressed by it at the time, but that's not to say that my opinion wouldn't change now if I smelled it. But I did actually really enjoy Vanagloria, and that's going to be on a further testing rotation for me until I finish my sample. The two samples that I wore and really enjoyed, and in fact, as enough that I put them on a full bottle wish list. That might change when I wear them again and test them more. The first one is Arabi from Serge Lutin. Spicy, dried fruits, dates, kind of reminiscent of something like Al Oud by L'artisan Parfumeur, but to me, I found Arabi a lot smoother and better put together than Al Oud. Al Oud I really enjoyed, but there are rough edges to it. The opening is a little bit to get through to the payoff of the dry down. The other one that went on my wish list was from Miller Harris, L'air de Rien. I have a sample of this. Now, I need to work out because I did read or hear something about reformulations, or the scent has changed. So I need to do a bit of research and figure out what my sample actually is, or how old the bottle is that it came from. But I absolutely loved wearing that, and in particular, it was warm, it was humid, and normally something like that perfume might be a bit too much, but it just really worked well. I loved the musky, mossy dry down on it in particular. I could smell it all day as well. In fact, it was really interesting because it was part of the dry down, the base notes, that distantly reminded me of another one of my favorite perfumes, Etruscan Water by Francesca Bianchi. They share similarities in the dry down, albeit overall very different perfumes. L'air de Rien, Arabi are now on my full bottle wish list. So that's what I did, and I also just want to comment on the fact that I was more random with what I took with me on vacation. I liked the surprise of what I was going to wear each day. I really enjoyed it, and it also took away any concern or worry about how I would associate a particular scent with the particular time and place that I was in. I had none of that. I had no expectations because I was wearing stuff that I was not familiar with, and so it was a fun little exercise to do, and I highly recommend, like a few days of just getting samples out that you've sort of let collect dust, and just going through them, wearing them, and seeing what happens. Just have no expectations, and you might surprise yourself, and you might find something you like, just like I did. Okay, I'm now moving on to perfumes/brands that I want to prioritize testing in 2025. I will talk about, let's talk about the brands first, because these two brands that I do want to try, I have no specific perfumes in their line that I want to try. And I'm more interested in testing the brands overall. So hopefully I can get some samples, discovery sets of these at some point. And the reason I haven't tried them up until now is the fact that they're still quite difficult for me to source from Australia. The first brand I'll mention is based in the US, out of Los Angeles, I think. They're called Perfumehead. And these really only came to my attention because recently Hannah over at Canadian Beauty Blog did a full brand overview video, which I'll link to in the description, talking about each of those perfumes in that discovery set, and they just sound like they're doing something a little bit different. They're not, from what I gather, very cheap, so they're not that accessible from a price point view, let alone a distribution view. But I've heard enough about them to pique my interest in trying them. In particular, I like the sounds of Canadian Tuxedo in that particular brand. So hopefully at some point I'll be able to try them. I'll have to figure out how I'm going to get them. The other brand, in a similar boat, I don't know if they even distribute out to Australia. I could probably get them shipped to Australia, unlike Perfumehead at the moment, is Joram Studio. Now, the reason that I want to try this brand, and I think I've wanted to try them for quite some time, is the fact that people I follow on social media who talk about perfume, one good, I guess, sign for me about a perfume brand is the fact that people will continue to post about how much they like a perfume from that line. So after a given amount of time, you can tell that they're not just being hyped because they've only just been released and everybody's getting a bottle of a particular brand. People continue to talk about them because they continue to like wearing them. And this is always a good sign for me, especially if it's a brand that I haven't tried. I take that as a signal that I should eventually get my nose on them. There is no perfume in particular that I am dying to smell from Joram Studio, but I do know the few people that I follow who talk about these perfumes talk about Trimeris. I know I've heard of Trimeris and Arboris, but I really have no idea about the rest of the line. They're based in the UK, Scotland, maybe, I think. And so I'm really keen to try those. There's 3 specific perfumes that I also want to sample. 2 are relatively new releases. One has been around for a while. The one that's been around for a while is from a brand that I own a bottle from. I have Grimoire from Anatole Le Breton. There is another perfume from his line called Bois Lumière that I'm really keen to try, mainly because people say a lot of good things about it. And also because the note pyramid kind of speaks to me, honey, immortelle. I am yet to find a perfume that features honey as opposed to beeswax, because I think they smell pretty different to me. Beeswax, I have the raw material of beeswax, and that smells different to the honey that I am used to smelling from a jar that I spread on my toast. And I'm yet to find a perfume that has captured that particular honey smell that I've enjoyed. So I'm keen to try that. It might be way off what I want or expect, but I've heard and read enough good things about Bois Lumière that it's a must test for me. And I'm sure I'm going to get to sample this one pretty soon. The next 2 perfumes are from Santa Maria Novella. These are relatively new, only just released, I believe. First one is Ambra. And I'm really just very keen to see how Santa Maria Novella approach a traditional amber accord. Now, it might not end up being a traditional amber accord, but knowing the way, being familiar with the Santa Maria Novella style of perfume, I'm interested to see whether they go down the route of the big, bombastic, symphonic amber perfumes that are quite common on the market, or they go a more understated, classic, subtle way to do amber. I really don't know what to expect with that one, but nonetheless, I'm very keen to try it. And the second one from Santa Maria Novella that's also just been released is Quercia. This one has a very interesting note pyramid. And of course, you have to take that with a grain of salt. And Quercia, just FYI, is the Italian word for oak. So oak is a listed note. It also features lavender, vetiver, patchouli, and I'm not sure whether there's anything else. That note pyramid interested me because it's very similar to the notes that I find in one of my favorite perfumes, which is Classical by Anat Fritz, and I've talked about that on this channel before. So I'm very keen to see what Quercia smells like as well, and to see if there's any similarities, whether lavender is more prominent or the vetiver, or in fact the oak. And I can't say that I'm very familiar with what oak smells like in isolation. So I'm keen to see how that works in that perfume. So I don't have a massive list of sample wish lists for 2025. I just wanted to come on and talk about that, talk about what I wore. Welcome everyone to 2025. I know I posted some videos while I was on vacation, but I'm back home in my regular spot and looking forward to creating more content this year. I'm happy to be here, happy to see you all, and let me know what you want to sample this year, what you've got on your to test list, and I look forward to reading those comments. If you've made it this far in the video, you should like, and if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Otherwise, I will see you all in the next video. Bye for now.